If you know the topic from which any English language question is taken from, then you have solved the problem halfway. And that is the point I want to make in today's class on English language. So once you've known the topic in which any English language exam is taken from or question, then you can have solved the topic halfway. You can know the topic from which a particular question is taken from by following these two steps I'm going to explain to you in this class today. Now, the first thing you need to do in order to know the question in which any English question is taken from is to analyze grammatically the statement or sentence of the question, and then see where, if it is a question that involves dash, see where the dash falls. If it falls under the section of the subject, or it falls under the section of the predicate, or it falls under the section of the verb, or it falls under the section of the adjoint or complement. Now, if you get to know this very well, then you have answered the question. Now, number one, that is, I say you should analyze grammatically the sentence or the statement of the question and see where that dash or where that question mark is found, where the question you require to find an answer to is found. And once you can find that, then you solve the question halfway. Now imagine this. If we have many a dash slash dash half. Now this is a sentence, and if you look at this sentence very well, you come to see that we have the dash and we have the word the dash, and that is what I mean by the dash. So if you want to get the topic in which determine the topic in which that question is taken from, you have to analyze grammatically this statement or sentence and then see where this and this falls. Now, to analyze this, we should first of all find the word, the S, P, C, A. Now, remember in the first class, in the use of English language, we discussed this. You know what this stands for, don't you? If you have watched the replay of my previous class. This stands for the subject or subject, which can be noun or pronoun. This stands for the predicate. That's the P, which is the verb. This stands for the complement, right? Which is the C, and that complement is the receiver of the action from the what? From the verb. And A stands for the adjoint, which is the A. Now, that adjoint is either the adverb or the adverbial. And remember, that tells you the degree of the action of that is taken. It's either the adverb of time, place, the frequency of that action, the reason for that action, etc. Now, once you have come to know this, with the subject, to arrive at the subject, you ask yourself, who and what did the action in this sentence? Now, from this sentence, who and what did the action in the sentence? Now, in the case of this above statement we've made, who and what did what to her? Because many a dash her. So who and what did what to her? So answer, that is the subject, is many a student. Remember the question, the subject, remember the options we put for those subjects, for those questions. We say many a student or students. It's either students or students. So those are the two options that we know that was given to us in that question. Remember, I said we'll be making reference to this question until we treat Concord that will give us the answer to this question. Now, many are students. So you see that a part of the subject forms the position of the space. So we see that many a student. Student is a word. It belongs to the noun or the pronouns. So the part of the subject forms the position of the gap, and that is the first dash, where the first dash appears is in the position of the subject. So in determining the topic, consideration must be given to the subject of that statement. Now, whatever we are determining, we must look at the subject of this statement. The subject is now involved, or the subject is now involved in that statement. So further, you will now have to look for the predicate, that is the verb in that statement. Now, do not forget that what we are doing is analyzing the morphology of the sentence question. Now, when you look at that subject, you now know that the first option that is given to you requires you finding the subject. Now, the predicate, we'll now look at the predicate, the action. The verb is also missing because if we have many a student or students, what action did they take to her? What did they do to her? So you see, verb is also missing in the question, and it should have appeared at the position of the second word, dash, in the question. So that means this second dash should be where the predicate should what be, which is what? Which is the verb. So the next thing you will now ask yourself is, do we have complement in that sentence? Now remember, in a sentence, you either have the subject and the predicate, or you have the subject, the predicate, and the complement, or you have full complete statement, the subject, the predicate, the complement, and the adjunct. Now, the next thing is to find out if you have complement in that sentence. Remember, the complement is the receiver of the action that is being done by the subject. And who is the receiver? Her. So that means we have the complement here, and that is what? Her. So you see, in that statement, we have the subject, the predicate, and the complement. Now, do we have the adjoint that tells us the frequency of the action that was done to her? No. So adjoint is not compulsory in any clause or sentence. So if it is not there, there is no cause for alarm. Don't bother yourself. So the question again is, many a dash dash her. So many a subjects, predicates, and what? Complements. So in this instance now, we have what? We'll have this as the what? As the subject. We have the predicate. We have the complement. But here, we have none for the what? For the adjunct. So that question shows that we have the subject, we have the predicate, we have the complement, but no adjunct. Now, in a sentence like this, how do we now finally come to see where the question really comes from? So it is the subject and the predicate working together that will now provide what our answer is, because the two things we are looking for there is the subject and the what and the predicate. Of course, you have learned that the most probable topic would be involved in any relationship between the subject and the what and the predicate, which is verb. Now, when we talk about the relationship between the subject and the verb, the subject and the verb, you should come to know that the topic that will come to your mind immediately is what? Concord. Now, Concord is the only topic that will tell us the relationship that a subject has with a predicate or a verb. So this topic is a topic on what? Concord. So you see, that is the first step. After having analyzed the topic very well, you come to see that you must find the relationship between the subject and the verb. And the only thing that relates a subject and a verb in any question is what? Concord. So your mind must race back to the rules guiding the subject and the verb in what? In Concord. In Concord, we have close to 25 rules. We are going to learn more on these rules in this class. As we end this class, we'll look at the word factory, which will not take so important for now. We'll take that close to your exam so that it can be fresh in your memory. But we are going to consider Concord first. And we'll look at all the three rules of Concord before we now look at the word factory. So do not forget that the English language in particular is a system of rules, and you need to apply the rules in order to get answers to any questions. Now you need to have those rules at the back of your mind, and I will leave you with the answer, leave you to find out the answer to this question for now. Then after talking about all the rules in Concord, if we get to the point where we need to get an answer to this question, I'll bring out this question and then we are going to discuss it. But for now, I'll leave you with this question. Many a dash, dash, ha. I've given you the option in our previous class on the use of English language, but I want you to still think about it, and you have to learn more on subject and verb relationship in our next class. The next class we are going to have is going to be on subject and verb relationship, and it's going to be Concord. We are going to first of all consider the first three rules of Concord, and we are going to look at the subject and the what and the verb relationship, which will see us get an answer to these words, to this question. Don't miss that class, and we are going to see how we get an answer to this question in the next class. This is just a brief class, and in our next class, we'll be looking at Concord. I will be taking the first three rules of Concord that has to do with the subject-verb Concord, the subject-object Concord, and the mandative subjunction Concord. Don't miss that class. Make sure to extend the invitation to other of your friends so that once we start off Concord and we start discussing the rules that govern the use of Concord or subject and verb, we should be able to be acquainted with such rules. If you log on to this class, I want to thank you so much for the effort you've made, and I look forward to seeing you watch the subsequent use of English language classes that we'll be having. Thanks so much for watching. And don't forget to like, share our videos, and subscribe to my channel for more topic. We also expect you to also express your thanks to us through our super thanks and super chats. We truly appreciate that. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you some other time.